Hey, how are you doing? I always think that the intuitive perspective penetrates a certain truthfulness in something that is covered up with superficial decorative information, no matter how seriously a person appeals to truthfulness in something with a number of persuasive evidences, right? So there's something that we can't understand if a person says truth or not from their emotion and the consistency of tiny behaviors and the consistency of their mentions. So anybody experiences such as this kind of situation. So people intuitively screen consistency of as much information about a person as they can get, including tiny behaviors and emotion when they listen to someone's talk. So it's like you don't have a firm confidence to affirm what you think about, and it's like you're walking on air with it, but you don't know why. But you have a feeling that something is wrong, right? So you realize something is wrong. Sometimes the feeling that something is wrong blows whistles on something dangerous that you're about to get involved in. In contrast, sometimes a great inspiration that you suddenly come up with gives you a chance to make a great achievement in a certain field. Or it's like police detectives try to get a clue to establish hypothesis of the incident from intuitive feeling that inspires them something wrong when they investigate. So they carefully watch consistency of suspects' tiny behaviors and mentions. But there's a case that detectives make a mistake and they sometimes arrest and detains the wrong person, and some of the suspects are wrongly convicted at a court. But the fact that there are a certain number of suspects that exonerated false accusation means that there are some judges who can reveal hypothesis of the incident honestly from their conscience as what intuitive feeling says, like he didn't do anything in the incident, although they can sentence guilty to an innocent person depending on the interpretation of witnesses' testimonies and evidences, right? So of course there are many cases that evidences and witnesses' testimonies and fact finding concludes that certain justifiable results that prove the truth of the incident at a court. But depending on how judges and prosecutors interpret the provided evidences and the witnesses' testimonies and fact finding, truthfulness in the incident that honest outsiders detect intuitively is sometimes easily covered up with darkness. So at a court, lawyers and judges and prosecutors put their heads together with varied thoughts and desires based on their motivation. Like prosecutors may want this suspect to incriminate at a court for suspect's honor and pride, and a lawyer may want to withstand this session while dodging sharp questions from prosecutors and insist on the legitimacy of suspects' behaviors, like insanity and and depression drove this defendant to cause such incident in order to have reduction of legal penalty or in order to win a quarrel at a court, even with the fact that a lawyer hide a certain truth of what this defendant did. So a judge may have the prejudice towards a certain race, and he may want to pronounce disadvantageous sentence to a suspect, although his intuitive conscience appealed him like this defendant didn't do anything at all in the incident, and he wasn't involved in this instant. So people who fight a legal battle at a court have a certain motivation and desires that makes them want to acquire a certain adjustment that gives them a certain advantages depending on the role they play at a court. You know what I mean? So these people's desires under unconscious mind tend to give priority to desired results over truthfulness in the incidents. So it is possible to change the impression on judges depending on the interpretation of evidences and testimonies, no matter how valid objectiveness can be recognized in these things. And it is also possible to change impression on judges by appealing how many people support plaintiff's allegation by agitating people around the town discriminately with lobby activities or something. So moreover, at a court, because there are no sufficient evidences to sentence guilty to a defendant can't go free. A defendant can't get out of the detainment, and a defendant can go free. But people intuitively realize that he did the crime. He absolute crime. People realize it. But this kind of unreasonableness happens a lot at a court, right? So the modern legal system that examines the truthfulness with materialistic evidences and testimonies and interpretation of fact findings and legal interpretation has a lot of room to bring factors that interrupt proving truthfulness of conflict between the defendant and plaintiff. So it is obvious that intuitive awareness that contains a certain truthfulness doesn't have affinity with the modern legal system as a place to see through the truth of conflict between them. So I believe intuitive perspective based on fair conscience without any prejudice considerably gives us a hint to get close to the truth. So when I see the truth from the standpoint of whether it brings a fairness for those who fight legal battle at a court each other, the truth can't be always fair for them, because the fairest situation at a court for those who fight a legal battle is that they want to acquire desired result, no matter whether it is the truth or not. So unreasonable truth is always covered up. So in that sense, nothing can guarantee that judgment at a court says truth always. So I think pure, honest, intuitive speculation from outside without any obsessed thought that is likely to interrupt finding the truth is much closer to the truth if the amount of material evidences are not enough to persuade judges, I think.